MyLaw.ng. My name is Oluwatosin Amushon. I am a lawyer at Legex Partners, product development lead at MyLaw.ng, and co-founder. The guidelines for this meeting has been posted in the chat below. So we're going to be going through the presentation for 40 minutes, after which we're going to move into the question and answer segment. So please put in your questions and put in your comments through the chat. And also, if you have further questions, you can raise your hand. Once the question has been answered, you can lower your hand so that other people can be given a chance as well. So let's get right into it. Now, the reason why I took time to, introduce myself is because I want you to know that I'm not just speaking from a lawyer's perspective. So for someone that is also running a business in this climate, I understand the struggles to a reasonable extent, even though everybody has different struggles, because whether or not we want to admit it, our revenue for some are depleting while we still have our expenses. So fashion. So right now, many fashion designers and business owners may feel distressed, as I've earlier said. And with COVID-19, different industries have been disrupted in different ways. Now everybody is using Zoom. And for many of us, we didn't even know what Zoom was before. So you can see EdTech and you can see video calling doing particularly well. But then we also have some sectors that are being disrupted to a large extent negatively during COVID-19. It doesn't mean post-COVID-19 they won't be able to recover. So you have hospitality, you have retail, you have travel. So to a large extent you have fashion, because most people are at home. So are they really going to want to be buying clothes and wearing clothes? Events are being cancelled, weddings are being postponed. And so it is easy to feel fearful and to feel distressed in this time. But what can we do to push forward? So before we go further, what exactly is COVID-19? I know there has been an overload of information, but it is always good to still be able to bring this back home. So the coronavirus disease, COVID-19, is an infectious disease that is caused by a newly discovered coronavirus. So coronavirus is not particularly new, but this is a new strain. And it is spread through droplets of saliva or discharge from your mouth or nose, or when you touch an object and then someone else touches it. So for us to even be able to make the best use of this opportunity while we're at home, we have to stay healthy. So please, let's continue to wash our hands. Let's continue to practice physical and social distancing. So right now, what is the implication of COVID-19 on any business, and in this case, your fashion business? So for many, because of the lockdown, there's forced closure of tailoring and design shops. So we're all forced to stay at home. For some of us, we might have our sewing machine at home. For some of us, it's at the home. So what does this mean? That we cannot particularly work, and even if we can, we cannot be able to do as much as we would have if we were at 360 Creative Hub, because that's where everything is. That's where your sewing machine is. That's where your material is. And even the ability to be able to network with other creatives. Yes. And then before we go further on, I want to thank 360 Creative Hub for the opportunity. They set up this webinar and they were able to pull everybody together. Now, for many of us at 360 Creative Hub, the fact that we are there means we are more or less startups or SMEs or entrepreneurs, and we are doing our best to be able to cut costs and increase revenue. And now, because of this COVID-19, we are going to see a depletion in revenue. Now, the thing is, different businesses would react differently. But we're just saying, based on, let's say, economics, that is what has been projected. Now, your costs and expenses are still rising. You still have rent that is due. You still have to pay your employees. And we all have targets. Every business will have a target they have set for themselves for Q1 and for Q2. So what does this mean when everybody's sitting at home? You may also have difficulty in performing your contractual obligations. So you've already told somebody, oh, I'm going to supply you 100 yards of material. But right now, the things you need are either stock in the village or stock in China or stock in Turkey. So how are you going to do this? It may also affect market share visibility. So I know many designers here have attended some pop-ups by some of you. It's a good opportunity to network. It's a good opportunity to put your business out there So right now that pop-ups have already been postponed, we have things like the Jitterbug Fashion Week, which might be postponed. So what does this mean? We are losing market share and visibility. And then for some, we see them pivoting to new lines of businesses. And in severe scenarios, we see businesses winding up. But we are here today to see what can we do to ensure that even though this might be tough times or tough plans, we are able to pull through at the end of the day. So anybody attending this meeting, we're looking at what can be done to ensure that we do not wind up. What can be done to ensure that we stay afloat and we're able to come out of this better. I was looking at the global fashion industry, and Primark said that they are losing about $650 million per month that COVID-19 and lockdown continues. And another school of thought said, okay, for luxury fashion industries, they might not particularly suffer because the rich people would always remain rich. They will always buy Gucci after this. But then what happens to small and independent fashion retailers like you and I that are still taking out time to be able to build our cash flow, to be able to increase our working capital and to stay afloat? So now, how do we now position our fashion business to survive COVID-19? We're going to be looking at the force majeure, frustration, price reopener clause. All this might seem extremely legal, but we're going to break it down to you. But before we go further, it's important to state that it is always, the thing is, when it comes to legal, most individuals might feel, I cannot afford it. But it is more expensive when you go into agreements or contracts without allowing a lawyer to even be there with you during negotiation, post-negotiation, and during the agreement stage. Because now the devil will be in the details. It is now that you will see the other party on the other side saying, well, this clause was never included, or this is the limitation of this clause. So now, we're going to start with, is there a valid contract? Contracts can be oral or written. The thing about oral contracts is, right now, it's going to be he said, she said. How are you going to prove exactly what was stated? Which is why we always advise you to use written contracts. Now, even in a written contract, are there sufficient clauses or terms in the agreement that you have signed to protect you during COVID-19 and post it? If yes, what are the next steps you should take? If no, what are the next steps you should take? So that's what we're going to be looking at today. So we're going to start with the first major clause. The first major clause is a clause that allows suspension of liability or performance pending a restoration to normalcy. Now, for you to be able to use the first major clause, it must be expressly stated in the agreement. So what this means is, if first major clause is not in your agreement, you cannot rely on it. Now, even if the first major clause is in your agreement, did the clause prepare for pandemics? Did the clause prepare for epidemics? Did the clause prepare for government policies? So your lawyer will look at the first major clause and say, okay, this clause does not have pandemic or epidemic, but it has, okay, Mayowa, yes, I will allow you to think a few things in a few seconds. So the guidelines for everyone that is just joining in, the guidelines are stated below in the chat. So please go through it so that you understand the sequence of the webinar. And as I was saying, so if you cannot rely on epidemic or pandemics, you might be able to rely on government policies, because right now, Lagos State government has brought out regulations saying everybody stay at home. So if the other party is saying pandemics is not here, but you can say, okay, but Buhari brought out a regulation. The Lagos State government brought out a regulation, so there's nothing I can do. But if these two are not even stated in the first major clause, the fact that there's a first major clause written in your agreement does not mean you can rely on it. So now, you want to rely on the first major clause, you must pass 3 tests. Firstly, is it an unforeseeable event? Could anybody have foreseen COVID-19? January 1, 2020, did anybody look and say, okay, this year we're going to have COVID-19? Secondly, was it something that was within your control? Those are the questions that will be asked when you decide to rely on a first major clause. Was it impossible for you to perform? Because let me give an example. We have a 14 days lockdown. if you were supposed to deliver a wedding dress 1st of April, the 14 days had already started to count. So it can be stated that, okay, force majeure came in. If it was supposed to be delivered 15th of March, you cannot be relying on the lockdown that happened after, when you have already missed the dates that you were supposed to have delivered that wedding dress. Now, when you decide to rely on a force majeure clause to help you to more or less ease out of a particular obligation that you owe your supplier, that you owe your customer, what does this mean? Firstly, renegotiation of terms. So you're going to come to the table, you're going to call your client or supplier and say, okay, this is the situation at hand. What can we do? How can we come to a middle ground? I would always suggest that things like this be written first, because post-COVID, when everybody's eye, let me say everybody's eye has clear, empathy has reduced, you now have rent due, people are not going to remember what they had already agreed to during COVID-19. So it's always important that you take out time to put these things in writing. Even though I'm a lawyer here, I know that lawyers can be scary. So what I would suggest is we should first have a conversation with whoever it is, whether it's a supplier or it's or a client. And then after you have had that conversation, you can now say, okay, please, let's sign an MOU to this effect. And then you get your lawyer to draft the MOU for you. So MOU is Memorandum of Understanding, which is basically to a large extent binding on both parties. Sometimes it leads to suspension of contract. So the fashion show has been postponed indefinitely or suspended indefinitely. There's really nothing you can do about that situation. But at the same time, it just means that nobody should be expecting you on a particular date to appear with 17 models and all your outfits ready when the event is not holding. So everybody is put on hold until everything is restored to normalcy. Sometimes it might lead to the full termination of the contract where it is impossible to execute. So you have a wedding that has been cancelled. What does this mean for you, basically? The subject matter, which is the wedding, has already been cancelled. And the lady, let's say it's a bride, she goes, okay, my wedding has been cancelled. I know I've paid you 60%. So what does this mean? You have already bought fabrics. So this is the kind of thing where you have a conversation and say, look, I've already bought fabrics. I've already spent about 40% or 30% of what you have given me. I have spent my time, and it is impossible for me to give you a full refund. And even if I go ahead to make the outfit, which is if I go ahead to fulfill the performance of this contract, it is of no use. So basically, in such a situation, you have that conversation and you agree on how you're going to do it. So we've been hearing a lot of brides to be crying and saying, oh, these vendors are wicked. They don't even want to have it. They don't want to have a conversation with me. Definitely, I understand that because money is scarce now, everybody's trying to hold on. But I would always say preserving relationships is also as important in this scenario. So it might be impossible to give back the full 60% of what has been paid, but it is good to have a conversation and say, look, you send a mail to that effect. We have already spent our time, money, the fabric has already been made, has already been cut, and this is how much we are able to give back in this season. So we have come to the situation where you actually have an agreement, but you don't have a force majeure clause. So what does this mean? Now, this is where the doctrine of frustration comes into play. Now, the doctrine of frustration is a common law principle. It means as long as you have a valid contract and frustration comes in, you can rely on frustration. And you rely on frustration when it becomes impracticable. So in this situation, the wedding has already been cancelled. It wasn't postponed. Yeah, so it's impracticable or intolerable. So there's really no point going ahead.
Quickly tell me.
Sorry? Sorry? I can't hear you. Maybe you can just drop a chat. Yes. Now, the difference between this force majeure and frustration is, for force majeure, as I said earlier, you can renegotiate, you can suspend, you can terminate. But then for frustration, the only thing you can do is to terminate the agreement. And termination basically doesn't mean, oh, everybody will just go and sleep and one one person will have more than others. But in this case, it's almost, there's something in law where we say it's almost like restoring everybody back to where they were before the agreement started. Now, before you rely on frustration, you need to be sure that it is going to favor you. It's not all the time that, oh, termination of contract favors you. So, for example, you have your suppliers are owing you in China. They've not been able to supply because of the lockdown there, and then you don't want to start saying, okay, so let's just terminate this agreement. That's the end. I've already sent money to them. You want to have a conversation with them and say, is it still possible? Or even if it is possible for you to deliver this material to me, it's already too late. So I think you should return my money, or I think if you can return 50% of my money, that would be great. Yes. So there's another thing called the hardship clause. Now, the hardship clause allows parties to renegotiate a contract if the continued performance has become difficult and unforeseeable events has happened. The good thing about this hardship clause is, unlike the force majeure clause where they must have stated pandemic, they must have stated epidemic, they must have stated government policy, the hardship clause is more encompassing. The hardship clause is basically saying once it becomes extremely difficult for one party to be able to perform, we are going to renegotiate. So it gives you a solid ground to ask for renegotiation. Now, there's also the price reopener clause. The price reopener clause is basically saying if circumstances happen that the other parties could not have foreseen, we are able to reopen and renegotiate on the price. Why this is important is because for some of us, we might have already bought supplies, or we might have already been paid to, create certain designs. And then you go back to the market and the price of silk has tripled. So what are you going to do in that scenario? And the customer is telling you, I don't understand what you're talking about because I've already paid you. This is why this price reopener clause is so important, because it gives you the opportunity to say, well, as you know, COVID-19 has happened, nothing is going in, so everything in the market, inflation has occurred. But if you do not have the price reopener clause, it is extremely difficult to be able to renegotiate. Now, all these things I've stated are things that will be good if they are in your contract at the moment, because they would help you to be able to mitigate your loss or mitigate your risk right now during COVID-19. But at the same time, post-COVID-19, these are clauses that you should ensure are in your agreements. So apart from that, we also have the liability clause. So liability clause specifies, okay, if there is a damage, to what extent is each party holding it? You have the dispute resolution clause. The good thing about the dispute resolution clause is that it specifies how disagreements will be settled. So it's not that someone will now be dragging you online and saying, I will take you to court, I will take you to court. Okay, what does the dispute resolution clause say in the agreement? Does it say, in such a situation, firstly, we're going to go to negotiation. After negotiation, we're going to go to mediation. Mediation is maybe in this situation, let's say you can say, oh, Mrs. Blessing of 360 Creative, please come and mediate this matter between the supplier and one of the designers in the hub. Now, the governing law is also as important. So why I'll say this is, if you are getting supplies from China and the governing law that is guarding that particular agreement with your supplier is the law of the People's Republic of China, you cannot be relying on the law here. You cannot be relying on the lockdown dates here. You cannot be relying on the government policies here. You have to rely on the policies of China. And we're looking at China. China says, okay, there must be a force majeure certificate that would have been given to anybody who decides to rely on force majeure. So if your supplier is relying on force majeure and you're using the governing law of China, it means your supplier must bring out that force majeure certificate showing you that, look, this is what I have suffered. But in the same breath, it means to a large extent, you cannot rely on so many things here, on the incentives here, on what Buhari is trying to do, on the regulations here to help you mitigate why you have not performed your obligations as well. Assignment/novation clause is also important because you will see a lot of companies will be merging now, a lot of companies will be acquired in this period. So what happens to the rights and obligations? Who are you supposed to be chasing? That's why this assignment and novation clause is very important. Because in a situation where there has been a merger or there has been an acquisition, you don't want to be chasing the wrong client or the wrong party when all the obligations and rights have already been given to the new company that purchased that particular party. Now, we've been talking, everything we've said so far is where there is a contract, there is a written contract. So what options are available where there is no contract? Firstly, you can renew and renegotiate on your existing agreements. And I think the best way to do this, you will need a lot of tact, you will need a lot of emotional intelligence, you will need to appeal to the emotions of the other person. So you are not going there with the attitude of, what do you want me to do? Lockdown has happened, it's beyond me. We are going there with the attitude of, okay, can we converse, can we meet in the middle? And of course, you will not make the mistake you made previously, which is where there was no contract after. So once you have agreed, you will send either a memorandum of understanding to that effect, or at least a letter where both of you will sign. You can also explore refund policies. So many businesses actually have refund policies, but then if you are not even aware that they have, you don't even know when you should make your claim. If they're like, okay, ask for a refund within 7 days from when you were supposed to have delivered, and you don't even know there's a refund policy, or you find out there's a refund policy 10 days after, you cannot rely on it. So right now, for all your agreements, for all your contracts, you have to go and read the terms and conditions that have been sent and look for the refund policy. Explore claims, if any. Sometimes most of these parties already have insurance claims, but you cannot know unless you first of all explore a claim with them, and then they will now transfer it to their insurance company. Consider the remedy of frustration, as I've said earlier. So the remedy of frustration, it doesn't matter whether or not there has been a written contract. Even if it's an oral contract, you can still rely on the remedy of frustration. Also, you need to sometimes just cut your losses. Now, why this might sound crude, but why it is important is because the energy expanded in trying to still, fight for what is yours. You would have used it to do something better. You would have used it to start thinking, okay, what is next? Do I need to apply for a loan? Do I need to partner with people? Basically. So it just saves you a lot of energy. Now, so the good thing is fashion business is largely non-perishable. So unlike essential goods where people actually have food that is going to expire, for them it's a lot worse because they cannot say, okay, we'll just carry over these items, we'll just carry over the products that are the designs that we have made this year to April or to May. So you have that option. And because we are in Nigeria, it's a lot better than climates where they have 4 seasons. So maybe they already made clothes for winter and we're coming out of COVID-19 in May, for example. Who is going to be wearing winter outfits in May? Which is why it's also very important to be able to look at the bright side of all these things. Yes. Also, to mitigate hardship, you may need to reach out to your team and your customers in writing. The thing is, one thing that I think fashion designers do, which always gets people like me out of, is a situation where your fashion designer or tailor does not tell you anything and you are just calling them. So what are we going to do? What are we going to do? It is important that in this time you are proactive. So you're already supposed to deliver an outfit 24th of April. You have not been going to 360 Creative Hub for the past 14 days. So you shouldn't wait until your client starts messaging you before you now realize that, oh, okay, let me tell her or let me tell him what's going on. So be proactive. Send an email in writing saying, this is it. These are the options available. Do you want me to continue to make the outfit, or the outfit to be ready in 7 days post when it was supposed to be ready? Please bear with us. Sometimes you not even give them the option and just say, please bear with us, for we will not be able to deliver at the time we're supposed to deliver. Now, if you have rented a shop or a clothing store and your clothing store is still running, most tenancy agreements might not have the first major clause in it. But the good thing is, courts are closed now, and Lagos State Tenancy Law does not allow a landlord to kick out a tenant. Forget all the things we see on Africa Magic. If you are following the law, you cannot go and start pulling out the clothes from the rack of the store where the particular individual is. So as long as the lockdown still continues, your clothes are safe where they are, as long as your landlord is a law-abiding citizen. Or in the same instance, I would say have a conversation with your landlord and there can be rent abatements. They might decide, okay, you know what, instead of you paying me, your rent is due May, instead of you paying me the full 100% in May, because of what is going on, you pay 50% of the rent, and then you get an agreement to that effect, or a side letter to that effect, basically. Now, for loan relationships, for many of us might have taken loans already. If you've taken loan from federal government entities like Bank of Agriculture, Bank of Industry, Nigeria Export and Import Bank, there's a 3-month moratorium. So what that means is, for the next 3 months, you don't have to pay your interest. You can continue paying if you have the cash flow, but you're not going to be seen as a defaulter if you haven't paid for the past 3 months. Also, CBN recently introduced a 50 billion naira targeted credit facility, and it allows MSMEs to be able to, request for this credit facility up to 25% of your of the average of your turnover for the past 3 years. So if you're a business that has been running for the past 3 years, what is your turnover? What is the average? You can ask for up to 25% of it. The good thing about this is it gives you cash flow. Now, if you are someone that has been keeping your books, which is why we always say there are 2 professionals that every business must have, irrespective of how young or how small you think you are, you must have an accountant and you must have a lawyer. And right now, lawyers the thing about tech is it has disrupted all industries. You don't need to break the bank because you need access to a lawyer. So if you have your turnovers, you can have 25%, up to 25% of the average of the turnover. Now, let me state here that for the next 1 year, interest will be at 5%, although they are giving grace, but it's going to be 5%. After that, it's going to be 9%. So before you go ahead to request for this credit facility, ensure that you have calculated the interest that is going to be accruing plus the principal that you are going to pay back. Now, what if your loan is not from the federal government, it's from maybe 360 Creative Hub, it's from maybe a family or a friend? We have to look at the loan agreement. Your lawyer has to look at the loan agreement and say, okay, is there a force majeure clause? Is there a hardship clause? Is there a further assurance clause? A further assurance clause means that each party would ensure and would be able to sign all agreements, do everything possible to help the other party meet their particular obligations. If all those clauses are not there, you might need to start renegotiations. And this is the time to start during COVID-19, where everybody is still reading the news, where everybody is still feeling a bit of empathy towards the situation. So, action points from what I've been saying so far. Do you have a contract? Yes, I have a contract. Does it have a force majeure clause? Yes, it does. You need to speak to a lawyer. Your lawyer needs to review that agreement. You need to inform the party to trigger the force majeure clause. So it's not enough to say, oh, there's a force majeure clause in my supply agreement. If you do not trigger it, you are not relying on that force majeure clause. Then you need to negotiate on the best alternative to mitigate loss for both parties. After which you execute a side letter or an addendum on the new terms you have agreed. What if you have a contract that does not have a force majeure clause, or you don't even have a contract at all? You speak to a lawyer, and then we develop a strategy, and we decide, okay, what is the next best step to take? What is the best alternative to a negotiated agreement? So what is the minimum that will say, okay, we can say we have been able to reach a consensus? Then you need to inform the party on your current state and how it has affected you performing your rights and your obligations. Then you negotiate and then you execute an MOU, that's a memorandum of understanding, or a signed letter on the new terms agreed. So now we're moving forward from fully legal. How do you protect your team in this situation? You have to be transparent, because of course, if you are not the only fashion designer on your team, you might have other tailors that help you and are your employees. You cannot expose your team or tailors to health hazards, because under labor law, as an employer, you have to ensure the health and safety of your employees. So it's not, and fashion is not an essential service. So you don't particularly fall under that umbrella. So before you tell anybody to come to work, you need to be sure that you are putting the hand sanitizers in place. They are not going to be arrested on the road. You're basically doing everything to ensure that their health and safety is guaranteed. You also have to have a conversation with the employees, because to a large extent, nobody really wants to be sacked. We don't know what is on the other side. So if you even have a job, you are thankful that you have a job in this scenario. Speak to your employees about it. Don't just say, but what can I do? You know that we're not sewing at this particular time. We're not exhibiting products. So there's nothing I can do. So since there's no job, there's no pay, go and sleep. That's not how it works. You always have the option to lay off. You cannot say, I'm not just going to pay salaries. It's either you are laying off, it's either you are owing salaries. And then you have the conversation with the employees and say, at the moment we don't have cash flow. What would you like to do? Would you like to hold on? And although I cannot guarantee how things are going to be in the next few months, but once things acclimatize, we are going to pay all the salaries that are being owed. Or you're like, okay, we're going to do part salaries for the next two months. Is that okay with you? You need to have these conversations. Or we're going to transition into part-time. Since you are tailors, we already know that it's probably not only our outfits you are sewing. So you are going to be available to us 3 times a week out of 5, which means there will be a salary slash. So you need to have these conversations and then sign letters or sign addendums that more or less protects both parties' interests. Also, prioritize the mental health of your workers. At the end of the day, we are in a crisis. We're not on vacation. It's not a bank holiday. So employees are also looking to see employers that show empathy. And why this is important is because when things get tough, your team would actually stay with you if you have been someone that has shown that you care not just about their output, but you care about them. Now, moving on, protecting your market share, improve your online presence of your fashion business. This is not the time to just go offline and start sleeping. Of course, I know already that most fashion designers, 360 Creative Hub is on Instagram. I see the things that they put out there to basically push the fashion designers and their different brands. People that have bought your outfits in the past, you can start a challenge and let them take pictures. Now TikTok is raining and you post it, and that way you're already building online visibility for yourself. Keep in communication with your customers. Do throwbacks. Tell them of the next season items. There are these fashion games that you can even get your customers to play with you. Attend relevant webinars just like this one and virtual meets. This is the time to grow your network, because at the end of the day, your relationships and your network is what would, and hard work of course, is what would set you apart from the next fashion designer. Volunteer, look for a way to give back. Why this is important is because you see, there was this, I think Amala Tosho, she started giving out food. She was doing it from a pure heart NGO, and now everybody's like, oh, who is Amala Tosho? We're following her on Instagram. People are waiting, oh, once lockdown is over, we're going to check out her store. So in what way can you give back in your own way? Is it shoes? Is it even masks? Because we've been seeing, I know that in Aba now, they are like the designers, they have been creating masks. Of course, you have to ensure that you keep up to the health and safety standards. So it's not enough to just create this mask. But the point I'm making is add value in your little way, because in any way you add value, you're also creating goodwill for your brand, and it will tell one day or another. Protect your brand now. Comply with all emergency laws and regulations. This is not the time for you to be, even though they say courts are on lockdown, we have seen that when push comes to shove, courts will sit. And this is not the time to put your brand under any negative scrutiny. Be sensitive or empathic in messaging. As important as it is to let people know that, okay, we are still in business. It's not time to say, okay, every day you are sending emails to your clients. Buy one, get one free for 7,000 naira today. Buy one, get one for 25,000 naira today. This is the time to sew agbada for that wedding. Which wedding? When there's a lockdown. So you have to be empathic. Do not take advantage to make super profits. Be careful of price gouging. Why this is important is because we've seen many supermarkets in tripling the prices of hand sanitizers. Now, in this case, there are different things that every fashion designer is selling. And you might be like, I don't know when next I'm going to be able to get this customer. So let me lad in this customer with a lot of, with high prices. Now, the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission is actually going around and has started suing supermarkets and businesses that are trying to make super profits during this season. So as much as people are joining the trend and tripling prices, you need to realize that anybody can be a scapegoat. So take all necessary precautions to protect your brand. Now, during COVID-19, you can still have productive work. You want to apply for the credit facility by CBN, this is the time to put your books in order. You have agreements with your suppliers and your clients. This is the time to get a lawyer to review them. You do not have an agreement. This is the time to start putting agreements in place. You do not have terms and conditions or return policies. This is the time to start drafting those things with your lawyer. Tell your lawyer how your business works, because your lawyer has to understand your business model to be able to develop return policies for you. Also, start inventing new patterns and design. I know for most fashion designers, you are creatives, and it's not particularly easy because of the crisis this season. So you have to be careful what you even allow into your system, and give yourself time to, just develop new patterns, new designs, products that we can wear all season round. Maintain documentation of any losses you have incurred, because very soon there is the economic stimulus bill that is trying to put in place, where SMEs like you and I, we can enjoy from income tax rebates. There will be different tools that we put in place to recover losses. But if you are not documenting your losses, you cannot make this claim. Also, explore expanding your supply network. Maybe before it was only China or Turkey you used to receive fabrics from. You need to start expanding your network, start exploring, start speaking to other fashion designers, and consider transitioning to working from home. Yes, so that's basically all we're going to take now. And I'm going to share the slides after. Yes, I'm going to share the slides after. But lastly, for 5 minutes, and then we're going to questions. What are the long-term corporate structures you can put in place to protect your business post-COVID-19? Rethink or expand your business model. In the past, maybe you only used to do the ones where they actually come and request and they take fittings. Think about ready-made. Expand your business model. So right now is not the time to be like, oh, this is my niche. Niche is good, cash flow is better, because you might have a niche, but you need to survive. So if you need to expand your business model to now be able to develop, to have more cash flow and now go back to your niche, this is the time. Review productivity, rebudget. Look at where you have been losing money. So where have my expenses been high? If you have a store or you have your own tailoring shop, why don't you move into 360 Creative Hub? It might even be cheaper for you than having to pay for rent, having to pay for light, having to pay for water. So you need to explore ways for you to cut down your expenses and keep your cash flow afloat. Keep proper books, documentations, and executed legal agreements. We have all learned from this experience, even lawyers. Lawyers have always been very careful when drafting agreements. We try to look at risks and see ahead. But at the same time, we also need you, SMEs and businesses, to come to us so that we can help you protect your rights and your obligation. Develop a business continuity plan. You might need to go for webinars for this. Many things are out there. There's an overload of information. So this is time to start developing it. Consider long-term investments as your funds may allow. So sometimes it's not all the time that, because I know that sometimes, let's say for a fashion designer, you get 3 weddings in a month. We are sewing for 12 groomsmen, and there is so much money, and you might be like, okay, what do I really want this? Maybe I should buy an extra sewing machine. Maybe I should buy 4 extra sewing machines. Maybe you only need 1. Maybe you should invest that money so that in times like this, you can use the returns to be able to keep your business afloat. Lastly, take out business interruption insurance. Now, the good thing about a business interruption insurance is it covers a wide spectrum of events. Fire, flood, death, it's wide. And although you might say, I am so young, I don't have enough money for insurance, it's in situations like this that you realize that, oh, that's 3,000 or 4,000 I've been dropping every month. It's going to yield returns now. We are also, I think last year, I'm going to say thank you to 360 Creative Hub for this opportunity to speak to all the fashion designers. Great job. I think I'm following most of you on Instagram. Please drop your handles below as well so that we can all follow our network. You can keep in touch with us on Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And we are also in the process of going into a partnership with 360 Creative Hub. So if you're not a member of this hub, this is the time to join in, so that you can enjoy the discounts, you can enjoy first-hand information, legal clinics that will be available to individuals and members of the hub. So I'm going to go into questions now. And there's a coupon code below for individuals that would need to speak to a lawyer after this event. You go to MyLaw.ng, you sign up, and you use the coupon code. It's only available to the first 10 participants that use the code. So you actually have to use the code. So log in and use it. First come, first serve. Schedule a consultation is 30 minutes with a lawyer from Legex Partners at MyLaw.ng. So let's go into the questions.